Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Monday Morning Tennis Rant, this time coming to you on a Sunday. And I've been waiting for this moment for so long. Carlos Alcaraz has finally won his first indoor tournament. He now holds titles on clay, grass, outdoor hard court, and indoor hard court. This is his 17th title. He now has one more title than his coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero. And one thing that I'm going to keep repeating is the fact that Carlos Alcaraz is only 21 years old. I've always said that there's no reason why Carlos couldn't win big titles indoors. There's nothing in his game that should prevent him to win the biggest tournaments on indoor hard, for example, the ATP finals. In the past, when his serve was a question mark, he was going to be at a disadvantage indoors. And also, one of his favorite shots, which is the forehand drop shot, it's going to be least effective on indoor hard. But again, Carlos is only 21. He's going to continue to get better because he is a hard worker and he's improving his game. The serve is getting a lot better. And he's starting to win a lot more matches when he's not playing his best tennis. This was certainly the case in the first round in Rotterdam when he played against Botic. Carlos won a tough three-set match. He then turned on the heat and played two really good matches in the second round and the third round. Especially the quarterfinal match against Martinez was one of the best serving performances that I've ever seen from Carlos. The semifinal match between Alcaraz and Hurkacz was, in my opinion, the best match of the tournament. It featured spectacular rallies with Alcaraz sliding like crazy all over the court and Hurkacz serving well and blasting shots from the baseline. Alcaraz playing phenomenal defense. And this was a tricky match for Alcaraz. He was challenged in this one, but made it through in three tough sets. Now, in the final, he played against the Demon. And I made a video putting respect on Alex de Minaur's name because he was getting some hate after getting destroyed by Sinner in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. And I've never seen the Demon hit the ball as hard as he did in the Rotterdam final against Alcaraz. By the way, Alex again made the Rotterdam final. Last year, he lost in two tie sets to Sinner. And again this year, he defended his points and played a really tight match against Alcaraz. He is now ranked at a career high number 6 in the world. And Alex showed not only how good of a player he is in the match against Alcaraz, but he also showed that he's capable of improving. Especially the second set in the final was one of the best sets that I've seen from de Minaur ever. And speaking of that second set in the final, Carlos Alcaraz did not play his best tennis. And this is where a lot of people criticize Alcaraz. And more specifically, people think that Alcaraz has a poor backhand. I recently had a conversation with a student of mine who thought that Alcaraz had a very poor backhand. And the problem with Alcaraz backhands is not so much the quality of it, but more the way it looks. Stylistically, it is not a nice looking backhand. I've talked about the Alcaraz backhand in some of my next gen two-handed backhand videos, and I've analyzed the Alcaraz backhand in depth, and it is a technically sound shot. He does have a next gen two-handed backhand. He has that whipping action with a very late forward timing. He also keeps his arm very straight in his take back. Carlos Alcaraz also doesn't always finish his backhand all the way. So when you're just looking at Alcaraz rallying backhands back and forth, the stroke looks somewhat stiff. It doesn't look as fluid as the Zverev backhand, the Djokovic backhand, or even the Sinner backhand. But I'm always interested to hear what the players are saying. And I get a lot of my information about the players from other players. And I've heard many players say that Alcaraz has one of the best two-handed backhands in the world. And the data proves that. On the ATP Tour website, there was an article about shot quality last year, which is a number that's calculated in real time by analyzing each shot's speed, spin, depth, width, and the impact it has on the opponent. And in 2024, Carlos Alcaraz was number 2 in the world in the forehand shot quality and also in backhand shot quality. So the thing with Alcaraz's backhand is not that it's poor, it's more the way it looks. And it also depends on what backhand Alcaraz is hitting. So most of the time when Alcaraz commits backhand errors, these are loose errors. He commits similar errors on the forehand. When he's not playing well, he will go for too much and he will simply overhit. But when Carlos Alcaraz is playing well, the two-handed backhand is rock solid. But it's not only that. When Carlos Alcaraz plays defensive backhands, when he slides out wide with his left foot, he's able to hit backhands like Sinner, like Djokovic, hit these spectacular winners from defensive situations on his backhand wing. I am planning to make a full-length video on the Alcaraz two-handed backhand where I'm going to get into more detail why the technique doesn't look pretty, so to speak, and look out for that video coming very soon on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. But back to Alcaraz winning this indoor tournament. I think this was a very important result for Carlos because last year he was in a big slump after losing to Djokovic in Cincinnati, and that slump lasted all the way until Indian Wells 2024. And Carlos Alcaraz is improving. He's only 21 years old. Last year he didn't have the same type of slump. I thought that Carlos played pretty well after the US Open, beating Sinner in the Beijing final, for example. And this year, he had a tough loss in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open against Djokovic. And when I saw his name in the Rotterdam draw, I thought that this was a great opportunity for Carlos to collect his first title of the year, get more confidence going into the Master Series tournaments at Indian Wells in Miami. And once the clay court season and the grass court season come around, this is where Carlos is going to be the big favorite, and it's going to be interesting to see how Sinner is going to do this year on clay and hard. Sinner played Rotterdam last year and won it, but this year Sinner was on vacation skiing. And this is not a diss on Sinner. He's recharging his batteries. But I think what we're going to see for the rest of the year is a battle between Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic. It turns out that Djokovic's injury is not as bad as they first thought. I had read initially that he was going to be out all the way after Monte Carlo, but it turns out that Novak is in Doha practicing. And we saw what Novak is capable of. He played unbelievable in the Australian Open. So I think there's going to be a lot of exciting tennis coming this year. Now I want to point out a couple more things. Denis Shapovalov is in the final of the Dallas tournament. It's a 500. Long live the one-handed backhand. When I first saw the draw, I thought that Denis had a nightmare draw, but he went through Fritz, Mahach, and Tommy Paul. The final hasn't been played yet as the recording of the video, but Shapovalov was going to play against Ruud, and I think he does have a pretty good chance of winning that match. Now, I saw something very sad that happened at a challenger in Lille, France, and last year I was closely following Lucas Pouilly's results, and the last time Lucas finished in the top 100 was in 2020. He dropped out of the top 100 because of injuries, and in 2022 and 2023, Lucas finished the year ranked in the 300s. But towards the end of last year, Lucas turned on the heat and made 3 challenger finals in a row, winning 1. He got his ranking close to the top 100. And this week, he makes it all the way to the final of a big challenger. And this result guarantees Lucas that he's going to find himself ranked in the top 100 again on the ATP Tour. But unfortunately, in the final where he lost the first set, was up 5-3 in the second set, he ruptured his Achilles tendon, which is possibly the most brutal injury. Recovery time is at least 6 months, possibly up to 9 months. If you go in the comment section on Pouilly's Instagram post, you're going to see Yannick Noah and Henri Leconte wishing Lucas well. And it's just such an unfortunate injury that couldn't have come at a worse time. So hopefully Lucas can recover from this and keep fighting his way back in the rankings.